Are tickets the next big thing? After watching today's episode, you might think so. We're joined by one of the biggest ticket collectors in the business, the great Darren Rovell.
My name is Geoff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me and my team as we help you profit from the hobby we all love.
Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to a special conversation today with sports media personality and big-time ticket collector, Darren Rovell. I love having Darren on the program because he's always has interesting stories and collectibles to share, and today is certainly not going to disappoint. And this episode today is brought to you by eBay. eBay is here for the card collectors with a trick for every trade, like advanced tools for price checking with Price Guide Beta within the eBay app, and up to 50% faster listing with Image Scan. Learn how collecting just got smarter at ebay.com/trading hub. I've had Darren Rovell on the program a couple of times, and every time he comes on, he gets me more and more into ticket collecting. I believe that tickets are an underappreciated part of the collecting hobby and also potentially a really smart investment for the future. And today, Darren's going to come on the program and tell us why those things are and share with us some of the greatest parts of his collection. This was a conversation that we had during the recent virtual holiday here on our Sports Card Investor channel, but I wanted to reshare it with you today because you might not have seen it, or even if you did, you might want to watch it again because it was a good one. So ladies and gentlemen, please re-welcome Darren Rovell to the program. I am extremely excited to bring on this next guest because he always brings the most interesting things to show me and to show you. Darren Rovell, the esteemed sports business reporter, also a huge collector. Darren, welcome to the virtual holiday.
Thanks for having me, Geoff. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, and I appreciate you representing our Atlanta Braves there. That's a great looking hat you have on.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely. I know you like supporting the champions, so that's good. You
Not really. I'm a Mets fan, but hopefully 2022 looks much better now.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that before from the Mets, but who knows? Who knows what will happen? We'll see.
I'm out of here.
But I'm extremely excited to see what you've brought us today, Darren, to show the audience. Every time I have you on one of these shows or an IG Live or anything like that, you always have the most fascinating things. I know you're big into tickets, and you've kind of made me a ticket convert. I've really grown some affection for ticket collecting because of hearing the unique stories you share and the unique items you share. So why don't you show us a few things?
Yeah, I think to start off, the reason I like tickets is it's just unpredictable. There's many ways to love tickets, and it's at all price points. So you can get something that was special to you that, if it's out there on eBay, you could find it. Maybe it was your first game. Maybe it's $5 and there wasn't any particular highlight to it. Or maybe it's something that someone doesn't know what the highlight is, right? And you find it and you can get it for cheap. The search for a ticket is a lot different from the search for a card. The search for a card is the literal search. Like, okay, let me type it in, let's see the price, and that's it. I would say the leap that people have with the ticket is because the population is so low in many cases, it requires a leap of faith sometimes because you're just not going to be able to find the comp. And you're just going to have to say, is this worth it to me? And do I think the market is coming around? So I've kind of gone after a list of like the best tickets I could find. And then I've stumbled upon some that I've seen, I thought were incredible. This is one that I absolutely love. This is the first day at Disneyland, July 15th, 1955. This ticket looks like it's fake. And by the way, on the back, it has like the parade route for the ABC telecast. This is actually from the
Wow.
collection of Walt Disney's chief cartoonist at the time, and he had an estate sale, and I bought this, and it's the highest graded. So it's
That is
incredible.
so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, and Disney for me, by the way, has been one of the when I went to the National and I had a table for the first time, the most shocking thing to me, I had two Disney items, and the most shocking thing to me, Geoff, was that people were just captivated with the Disney items. So I took that information and said, I have to invest deeper in Disney. And Disney is pretty much 2x'd any signed stuff from Disney over the last year. And I think that was like kind of the manifestation. So I've gone after the best in class autographs from Disney. So this is a beautiful one from a guy who, when he was 12 years old, got this in 1958 by writing Walt Disney. And I actually bought it from him. Just an incredible piece. And then another one. You just can't get enough Disney. So that I kind of stumbled into that. Couple more like tickets that are weird or have caught. So I love movie tickets. So tickets that there was something filmed or something like, something in relation to a movie with a ticket. This is the famous one. This is Ferris Bueller's Actual Day Off. And the way you back into it is Claudel Washington hit a pop-up on the highlight. Lee Smith is pitching, and Claudel Washington only hit a pop-up in the 11th inning of a 4-3 game on June 5th, 1985. I can't believe someone actually had this ticket. This is the only one that exists with the Color Cubs logo. I sold one, and I regret it forever. And then I think, being able to put autographs on tickets are also great. Cards, obviously, there's always been this talk of whether you should have an autograph on a card, whether it decreases the value, whether it increases the value. Most people think don't. But on tickets, if you can get, it's almost like the perfect surface. So this is the game that made Reggie Jackson Mr. October. And it says Reggie Jackson, Game 6, 3 home runs, 1977 World Series MVP, Mr. October. So you can do that. And then I have a million for you, but I just love some of the things that I found. Like, I could not believe there was actually a ticket to the night that Marilyn Monroe sang Happy Birthday to JFK. I mean, that's ridiculous, but it was at Madison Square Garden. It was ticketed. When I found a stub from a guy in Germany, I got it. And then somehow someone else had another ticket. It was a full ticket. And again, I'm like, God, I hope this isn't fake. I don't think anyone would even know how to fake this. But it's just so breathtakingly beautiful that,
Wow.
from 1962, that I think that when you show people cards, the cards that are the universal wows, when I show people tickets, most people get it right away and they say, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And I'm not really worried about, whether 20-year-olds are only into digital or tickets are going away. Maybe that even helps it. I think that the population of a lot of these are small enough that it's already getting, big for what exists.
Yeah. I mean, you're hearing more and more people talk about tickets every day, and the pop counts on these things are unbelievably low. By the way, you talking about tickets, I think, has brought a lot of people into it, and you've gotten me to start paying attention to it, as you've gotten a lot of other people starting to pay attention to it.
And
But
I
this
mean,
is
by the way,
probably
I'm
created some
even
of your own
surprised.
competition when bidding for these, I
Well,
imagine.
that is true. And I got into it maybe 3 or 4 months before I started talking about it. I've sold almost nothing. So it's not everyone always starts to go to the negative, like, "Oh, you're pumping tickets." Actually, I really love them, and I don't really have a lot of plans to sell them. But yes, it has caused. There's one thing, by the way, that I did not expect. I did not expect people to think that the debut equaled the rookie card. I think that's probably because card people came into it. And, I thought, hey, Tiger Woods at the Milwaukee Open in 96. Yeah. I mean, that was big enough. But like Tom Brady throwing 3 passes on November 23rd, 2000, the first time he walked on the field, 1 for 7 yards. Like, to me, like, that's not why I got into tickets. And it's fine because the debut has kind of built up this whole, tremendous buzz on tickets, and people are collecting the debut. But for me, I'm in it because, something major happened at that game. So like I'm into, Jackie stole home on game 1 of the 1955 World Series. Like, can you imagine today in the first game of a World Series in enemy territory for anyone to think that they could steal home a Brady ticket that I have is, this is the Tuck game. Like, so that's a game I remember. I don't have any desire. I rarely have gotten into the debuts, except if it's a unbelievable ticket, just like a card. If you love the aesthetics of it, I have two of the 8 Allen Iverson big tickets from November 1st, 1996, his debut. That was also the debut of the Core State Center, their new facility. So they made this unreal ticket, and I care about that. And Allen did, but like the Kobe Bryant ticket where he scored 0 points, like I'd rather have the final game where he scored 60. But this is just like cards. I mean, there's a debate as to what you want.
Yeah. And you had set out, when you got into tickets, you had set out by creating a list. I recall you saying of like 100 key pivotal moments in sports history that you wanted to get the tickets of. How are you doing on that list?
I have about 85.
Wow.
I have about 85. The big one I got, which is coming back from PSA, which is nearly impossible, was the Doug Flutie Hail Mary, Boston College against Miami in 84. I told some guy at a show that I was looking for it. He's like, one day I'll find it. And he did. And he found it for me. I gave him like a finder's fee. It was laminated. I chose not to unlaminate it just because I didn't want to mess with it. But what's amazing about that ticket, and again, it brings you back. I love the ad on the back is Eastern Airlines, right? You have a nice, beautiful, defunct, that's Eastern Airlines, or TWA is, totally 1984. And then on the front, because they originally had the game on Saturday and they changed it to Friday, some person in Miami's sports information department or whatever crossed out the date in the X's with a typewriter and put in Friday. And I guess they did it on all those tickets because they didn't want to go back and print them, or they didn't have time. So that was one that was big. And then the one where I went to Twitter for was the Randy Johnson hits the bird ticket. You have, and again, these are the complexities that are so exciting, Geoff, right? It's 3,000 people at a spring training game. So you already are down, and then who's keeping a spring training ticket? And then there's this one guy, and, at the end of the day, this is where I'm talking about, like, well, what's the price? Both the Flutie ticket and that ticket, it's like, well, I have to have it. I have 0 leverage, and I have no comparables. The only people who own or have slabbed the Flutie ticket are people who owned it to begin with. Like, there was a 0 sales. Can you imagine that in cards? So,
yeah, no.
I know I don't have any leverage, and I throw out a number and hope I get it. And if I don't, I just have to reach down and figure out if I really, really want it. I think I paid $1,000 for the Randy Johnson bird ticket.
Darren, I love these stories that go with the tickets. It's such just a compelling thing to collect for that reason. And I imagine a lot of people right now watching this are like, wow, that's wild. Like the Randy Johnson hits a bird ticket. Who would have thought that one even exists still? But it's really, really cool. And thank you for sharing all of that. But I want to talk about cards too, because you've been a collector of not just tickets, but other forms of collecting and cards included. The sports card hobby has been wild over the last couple of years. We saw an incredible run up in prices that really peaked in about February of this year, when many cards were hitting all-time highs. We then saw a lot of prices fall backwards. We've now seen the market start to stabilize, some cards starting to inch back up, other cards still going down a little bit. From your perspective, where do you think card collecting and card investing is going to go in the next year or 2 years and beyond?
Well, I think the one thing is, modern basketball is kind of the focus in terms of where that goes. It had gone so up and now kind of moving down. And the question that everyone's asking is, when you look at the population that has come from PSA and the backlog then coming in, at what point does something become really concerning? And I think, you look at, the Luka cards or the certainly the Zion cards, then you have the fact that you have Ja Morant and Zion and besides Luka, those are the two biggest names, and those guys being out. So I think the populations are going to be key in the future. And if there's 18,000 of something, 20,000 of something, that's going to be harder and harder to trade. And so I'm just interested to see what happens with modern basketball. I also think obviously the story coming in over the next couple of years is going to be Fanatics. How, if they're doing direct to consumer, do breakers get what they want? Do hobby stores get what they want? This is the biggest change in the hobby at a point where we're at this peak. So I think, those are the two stories, just general populations of modern basketball. How does it play out? And then I think Fanatics is the other huge story. And how does that play out? That's going to be, people who had access to being breakers might not have a business anymore. We knew the distribution model was changing already with the Walmarts and the Targets. I think that's a less sexy story, but it's an essential part of the flow of the business.
Yeah, these are great points. And obviously lots of questions that remain to be answered there as to how all that's going to play out. We've seen all this interest in sports cards over the last few years. Now we're talking tickets. NFTs have been really big this year. You're starting to see other forms of collectibles like video games, for example. Sealed video games have made a lot of noise this year. Looking at collecting overall, is this an alternative asset movement that you think is going to continue to expand and grow? Do you expect to see more niche forms of collecting pop up, or do you expect to see a lot of this go digital? Where do you think this is all going when you look into the long-term future?
So I think the digital stuff is too connected to crypto, and I'm just not comfortable with that space and how kind of momentum drives it. And I don't think it's too rational. And I haven't been a part of that. It's not just because I'm a old collectible guy, but that's not me. But I would say that I think what people are going to realize, just like, Under Armour became a mass when people said, oh, it's just a niche moisture wicking shirt. I think that the niches have a chance to be a mass, and people can find comfort in things that are not as liquid as cards, but are liquid enough. I made a relatively big bet into sealed VHSs. I made a bet into sealed video games because I just thought there would be enough people that it just hits the nostalgia meter that they were willing to, for this to be on the rise. And by the way, I loved it. Don't ever buy something that you don't love. So I think if people are strategic with what the mass is like, and you really learn these markets, right? Like the video game market for me was, well, the first movers in that market were, they liked all this is a Rev A and this is a first version, but it has white bullets and all this. And I just said, well, NBA Jam is the best game of all time. You guys haven't recognized that. You're just worried right now about the additions. Why don't I just buy the best NBA Jam in the world? And so everyone can have their own place, but I think don't just do it or don't just follow. Have your theory. For me on VHSs, anything 85, 86, 87, that's what I focused on. So I focused on Rockies, Karate Kid, Ferris Bueller, Top Gun, the ones that hit me. And I think that hit all my friends, and I collected all of them, and I like looking at them. I like staring at them, and so far I haven't sold them.
Hey, collect what you love. And that's one of the things I love about sports cards. And you're right, it's true about all these other forms of collecting. I agree with you on NBA Jam, by the way. I actually have one of those mini NBA Jam arcade machines in my house.
Yeah.
I've gotten my sons into it. We have a ton of fun playing NBA Jam tournaments. But I would have to put RBI Baseball and Tecmo Bowl as like a close 1A, 1B, 1C right there with NBA Jam.
Yeah, Tecmo. I did buy a Tecmo Bowl. I bought a Tecmo Bowl sealed. I actually did sell that. You always talk about like at what point do you sell, and like it's so hard. It's so hard to figure out when you sell. I think the crypto world and the hodlers and the holders has really messed this up, because in a normal time before all this came, you'd have 5x on something in 6 to 10 months. Are you crazy if you held it? Like, even if you love it, buy a lesser version and look at it and stare at it. But I think where we are in this world has kind of screwed things up. I would just, there are some times where I just say, I did have a video game that I 30x'd and sold. I'm sorry. I love it, but I have to take money off the table. And so, that's the hardest part, how to nail that. But I say, I tell people that if it's staring you in the eye and you have a chance to get a multiple that in 2019, before crypto got into your world, or 2020 was a good multiple, just remember that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. It's hard because if you are collecting and investing in what you love, it's hard to part with it, even if you've seen the financial returns. And actually, that's one of the challenges with mixing investing and collecting is, if you're making an emotional decision about something you're buying or something you're thinking about selling, it kind of muddies the water a little bit. But, you get that with cards and these other forms of collectibles that have personal meaning to you. The finances may tell you it's the right time to sell something, but your heart may not want to part with it.
Yeah, it's for me on the tickets, it's like, well, then I don't get to if I don't have it, I don't get to tell that story again, right? It's like the conduit for my storytelling. And so, when I have something, like I have a ticket to the first Ferris wheel ever in 1893 at the World's Fair in Chicago, and to say no, actually George Ferris built the ticket, built the ride that this ticket was for. Like, I mean, like, that's crazy, and if I gave that, and then someone, and I didn't have a price on it at the National, and someone says, I'll give you $5,000 for it, which is multiples of and I'm like, it was in Chicago. Obviously the National was in Chicago. Someone had a tie to Chicago and he knew the story, and I'll give you $5,000 for it. And I was like, I haven't told the story enough. I haven't shown it to enough people. I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to have one heck of a collection to maybe pass on to your kids someday. We'll see.
And if anyone ever has
Darren, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. If anyone ever has any questions on tickets, let me know, get through to me, DM me on Instagram. I do think that there is a nice run here. There's enough tickets out there that are certainly satisfying people. I mean, when I started, there were 25 new tickets that showed up on eBay every day. And now there's close to 2,000 new tickets every day. So people are looking, they're getting smarter on how they're listing. Sometimes on ones that are good and like have a buy it now that's too low. If I don't get to it right away, it's bought. So again, Geoff, that's the as part of educating people at a influencer level, that's the part where I lose. But I actually love that the world's talking about it, and I think it makes sense. And I encourage anyone who's interested in the chase or interested in, just again getting something where if they went to you would be surprised how many tickets are out there. I got the ticket from the Mets ticket from the day of my bar mitzvah. I mean, like, how random is that? But it was on eBay. It was $10, and then and the way that I think PSA is lenient on if the history is right, they're lenient on how to slab it. Sometimes I've gotten into some arguments, like Game 5 of the '94 NBA Finals, when I want to write OJ car chase on it. They're like, well, OJ car chase didn't happen at the game. I'm like, yeah, but it was on the TV broadcast. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth going on. That's all fun.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Amazing things that you get from the world of tickets. I appreciate you sharing it with our audience, Darren. That's very generous. And happy holidays to you. Thank you for joining the virtual.
All right, take care, Jeff. Happy holidays, everyone.
Special thanks to Darren for coming on. I thought that was a wonderful conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Have you gotten into ticket collecting at all? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button and that bell icon yet, do so right now so that we can continue to bring you new content such as this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon with our next episode. Take care.